Buy or not to buy? That is the question. As I'm sure you all know by now, I collect international mail order fraud, and one of my favorite fraudsters is Professor A. Victor Segno of Los Angeles. He sold memberships in the American Institute of Mentalism and the Segno Success Club from 1900 to 1937 from his offices in LA. And members' lives, at least he believed or told them, that they would improve in many ways. And the cost was $10 per year, which is equivalent to about $200 in today's purchasing power. And at the bottom, you see Professor Segno sending a success wave and all the areas of your life that improves. One of the problems in collecting this area is it's really very hard to get material. You're trying to get it to an addressee, and that puts very strong limitations. In fact, for a long time, this has been the only Segno cover from Mauritius that I've seen. And you see, it's a pre-addressed envelope to the American Institute of Mentalism, franked at the 15 centime international rate. It's a proper franking. And if you look closely, it was posted from Port Louis, Mauritius on April 1st, 1919. Port Louis is the major city, the major port, the capital. That's where you see most of the mail from Mauritius. And it's the only fraud cover that I've noted from Mauritius. And it was probably a request for information from the Segno Success Club. With respect to the Indian Ocean, I only have one other cover. And here's a Segno cover from Saint Louis in Reunion, the island of Reunion, which is close by to Mauritius. It was posted from the small village of Saint Louis, as I said, in 1906 at the 50 centime registered rate. Being from a small village, this cover represents an excellent philatelic item, independent of its Segno relationship, and that's something I try and do is find rarer covers, good covers. And it probably contained a monetary vehicle for purchase of Success Club membership or maybe some of the books Segno published. And these two covers are the extent of my Segno material from the Indian Ocean area. Last month, not last month, this is December, November, October, I was prowling the web, looking for material, doing my various searches. And in the dealer's stock, in the U.S. dealer's stock, I came up with this Mauritius cover. It's a rare and powerful cover that fits in the fraud collection. Annie Del Segno was Segno's ex-wife, who was treasurer of the American Institute of Mentalism. This cover was posted in the village of Mahalborg, Mauritius, a small village in Mauritius, 1916. And the envelope is censored. This is from the title of the dealer's introduction to this cover. It bears the 15 cent adhesive paying the international rate. That's a Stanley Gibbons number there. And it displays a unique censor tape. And then he describes it as very rare and very fine. And he wants $1,250 for it. And if you look at the cover, I mean, it's a beautiful censored envelope, not envelope, label used in Mauritius, and he's describing it as unique. Further on in his description, he notes it's from Mauritius, 1916, Mahalborg censored, sent to Los Angeles, solo 15 cent adhesive, displaying the unique censor tape which was noted by Ibbotson, a very well-known scholar in the area, who noted, "I have collected and studied the postal history of Mauritius for many years and have not come up with any printed reference to censorship during World War I. I know of only one such item offering proof of civil censorship." So the dealer who's selling this describes it as very rare, very fine. If you look at the stamp seems to be in good condition. The label is pasted over it. It has no back stamps, which sometimes can be worrisome. but it has something that I typically recognize in Segno covers. You look at the lower left, you see those two little punch holes. Envelopes in the that Segno received were pinned to incoming letters so as not to lose information about the addressee. And you can see where that pinning was on this cover.
Does this dealer know that you're looking for Segno material?
Oh yes, oh yes, he knows me very well, unfortunately. Uh,
Does, does he know these details about this pins in the Segno thing?
no, no, I don't think that would have much impact on his price. He's quite certain that this cover is genuine, and there are no issues with it. And in fact, I'm certain too. So what do I do? Okay, it's $1,250. That's a lot of money. But before we get too serious, I thought let's laugh a little bit, a little play on these words from Shakespeare. To be or not to be, Shakespeare. To be is to be, Sartre. Doobie, 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 Sinatra. Okay, that's my
That's
little morning joke. Sorry, people. So
yeah,
my item for discussion on this cover, what should I do? That $1,250 is a lot of money. I'm pretty long in the tooth these days. At that price, selling it at auction or something like that in a couple of years, I'd be lucky if I got $500 for the cover. I did speak to the specialist in Mauritius, who, by the way, is selling his covers, a specialist from England, and he says indeed it is very, very rare, but he wouldn't comment on the price. I write a lot of articles, so I have the scans. I'm sure the dealer would let me use them if I wanted to write anything about this. But so I'm in a quandary. What should I do here?
Is this cover something you'll get enjoyment out of? Never mind the selling price down the road, which maybe as a dealer I should pay attention to, but as a collector, I don't care about.
I always think of money as a tool to make our lives better. And if this would help your collection and make you better, then it's worth it. If it's doesn't, then it's like, okay, I'll pass. But it sounds as a one of a kind item. It does sound really,
Yeah, no, it is. I'm pretty sure it's one of a kind. There are a couple of censored covers known from Mauritius this period, but they're very local.
another
Yeah,
way to look at it is to ask yourself how bad you'll feel if you don't get it, somebody else buys it. That amount of money, you probably have spent that much over time easily. But now in this case, you're being asked to buy only one item. And so you have to weigh how important is that item? I mean, is it worth as much to you as a whole collection, which would, clearly keep you busy for a long time?
I'm sort of chasing you. I'll be 81 in a few months, and
uh-huh.
I think you should treat yourself.
Let me go to the second half, and it's going to have the same subtitle: to buy or not to buy, and that's the complex issues of collecting postcards. At the November 30th meeting of the group, the complex issues of collecting postcards came up for discussion. Some of the issues are, what are the rates throughout the years from various countries who used postcards? What were the regulations governing their use? Where did the address go? Where did the message go? Were there limits on sizes of the messages? How were they processed by post offices? Uh, During the UPU period, these varied with the years and the countries of use. And I was aiming to show you an example from the village of Yenbei in Tonkin in Indochina, French Indochina. I should mention that collecting French Indochina during the 1892 to 1915 period, which I did, leaves you open to all of these villages that you see. There are dozens and dozens of villages. And to me, it's really a lot of fun to discover a new village. And with respect to just this little presentation, I'm going to show you a couple of covers from the village of Yenbei, which you see on the left, and one cover from Vignyen. which you see with the vertical arrow. Here was the cover that I wanted to show. It's posted from the small village of Yenbei, Tonkin on the 25th of September, 1904, to Tamatave, Madagascar. Tamatave is the port city, the major port city in Madagascar. It is a major town. It had a lot of business, and it's easy to get material, but you can get more interesting material. As you can see from the card, the picture side of the card at the left, it's franked at the 5 centime rate. But then when you look at the address side, it's been struck with a T in triangle and a French insufficiently franked boxed hand stamp. This was put on by the office at Yenbei. There was some serious problem with this cover, with this card, and it was received at 20 centimes due in Tamatave, which is double the 10-cent postcard rate with no credit applied for the 5 centime stamp. So as you can see, it's 20 centimes due. You see the Tamatave arrival. It's the same date stamp that ties those very nicely cut 10-centime Duval postage due stamps. Normally, the Chinese words are just Chinese information to get it out of the Chinese area. It says something about the address and that it's international postage and going outside of wherever it was initiated. Oh, the other thing, which reminds me I haven't mentioned, when you see what look like fractions like this, 2/4, that means that the sender was sending the addressee 4 postcards, and this was the second one. Postcard collecting was a big thing at the turn of the 20th century. For the French area, the normal postcard rate was 10 centimes. There was a special postcard rate of 5 centimes for cards with a message of 5 words or less. This was something the French instituted. Stamps were to be placed on the address side of the cards, but this was not always observed. And in this case, I think my opinion is the arriving clerk at Tamatave should have credited the card with the 5 centime postage, and then it charged 10 centimes due, which was double the 5 centime shortage. But he elected to give them no credit and charge the full double 10 centime. And if two things about this card, of course, it's franked on the front and not on the address side of the card. And if you count this one way, you've got more than 5 words. Okay, so maybe the clerk thought more than 5 words was sufficient to obviate the postage, or maybe the postage was on the wrong side. I did have 2 other cards in the collection that showed proper use of the 5 centime stamp. One from Vignette, and you can see it's franked on the proper side. It's got an arrival, which is nice, at the Department of Pas-de-Calais, and it's proper use of the 5 centime stamp. Here's another one from Yenbei, franked on the picture side, tied with Yenbei. You can see this was 1 out of 2 postcards being sent. And it looks like less than 5 words, and it traveled through the mails with no problem. Here's one from the village of Montjoly in French Guiana. It's actually the only recorded group type item from Montjoly. So it's quite rare, and when you turn it over, it's far more than 5 words, yet it traveled. So what I've hoped to present to you is even in this little narrow area, there seems to be a bit of confusion. And that brings me to my last slide, which relates to the complex issues in collecting postcards, to buy or not to buy. And that is this book, okay? Searching the web, I found this book on the postal history of the Universal Postal Union, the postcard worldwide, 1869 to 1974, by Jamie Goff. Okay, I don't know if any of you know of Jamie. He's an outstanding philatelist, collector, philatelist, writer, a member of various organizations. He signed the roll of Distinguished Philatelist with the Royal Philatelic Society. And he's done a 2-volume study of postcards around the world from that UPU period. And normally when I'd see a book like this, you see it's $105 to members of the 105 pounds, pardon me. So the price with postage is going to be, let's say, 130 pounds, and then you got to multiply by 1 point whatever it is today. That's a pretty heavy charge for a book. So that's
Yes.
my talk for today.